Now, a Hutch's weather update with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson, brought to you by Robert Gibb and Sons, your preferred Bryant dealer. Whatever it takes. Visit robertgibb.com.
Hello and a good Saturday, everyone. Meteorologist Hutch Johnson. We're going to go in depth and highlight this storm, and we'll start out with what's most important to you. Please keep in mind this is a multi-day type of a system where it gets started right now, and as we go into the weekend and through the weekend into next week, some could be seeing snow all the way into Tuesday afternoon and even Wednesday morning for eastern Minnesota. The impacts will be wide-ranging, and we want to keep in mind that the forecast, particularly on the latter half of the storm as we get into, say, Sunday night or particularly Monday night and into Tuesday, could still change. It could slow down, it could stall, track shifts happen. I'm going to do my very best to articulate and communicate in the most accurate way possible and concise way possible, but as always is the case right here on Hutch's Weather. I appreciate your input, your questions. They help me learn, where I'm not connecting the dots for you. So this is a big time storm system impacting a big area, and warnings have been issued for winter storm conditions across the area. And again, with this system working its way through the region, we're going to see the impacts ranging from just a very little bit of snow to a whole bunch of snow. We're talking, I've seen some memes go out with that famous graphic of anywhere from 1 inch to 72 inches. Well, we won't go up as high as 72, but I think 1 to 24, 25 inches is not out of the question. And why is it so difficult? Let's address these things as we go to visiting today. Gary, good to have you on board. And go ahead and share and tag people in this that might want to see Hutch's perspective from the storm and get a look at the message. But let's start with a look at first what's going on with regards to our warnings in the area. All of the red counties now from northeast Montana through most of the valley, all the way to Duluth and into Minneapolis. Almost all of South Dakota are in a winter storm warning. We're going to have very gusty winds. We're going to have some snow taken and making its way through. Shannon, good to have you on there board with us as well today. Thank you so very much. Here's what you need to know. It does still look like the heaviest of the snow will be in southeast North Dakota, eastern South Dakota, most of South Dakota, as a matter of fact, and most of Minnesota. The area that we're fairly confident that will see the lowest amount of impacts will be northern parts and northwesternmost Minnesota into northern parts of North Dakota. Those areas will likely see a dry air flow. Now, the farther north you are, there's going to be a sharp cut up or ramp up into those snow amounts. And if you zoom in on this, we'll see that Grand Forks, you are included in the warned area. So let's put it this way. I've been saying for a couple days, be where you want to be by noon. We're going to up that. Be where you want to be by about 7 to 10 a.m. on your Sunday morning, because snow and heavy snow and wind and very gusty wind will spread its way into the region. Let's talk about what's going on now. The last couple of days, I've said the snow shower activity in western North Dakota wouldn't amount to much, and it is not. I will show you DOT pictures from the area out west. We're not seeing a lot of hefty accumulations from this. Tiffany, hi. Kristen, good to have you on from Bagley. Thanks so very much for joining. Chris, thank you too as well. From Cyrus, good to have you on board. Now, notice this. We do have some pink on the map. What's that? Oh my goodness. That there is a small area on the northern range there, basically the North Shore, expecting a blizzard warning and blizzard conditions there. Mark my words. In open country in particular, you're going to see blizzard-like conditions, and we may see some counties upgraded to blizzard warnings throughout the event. But the main thing goes is how can we communicate what's going to happen? I know everyone that's on board with me now and that watches this in the future. Bear, good to have you on board as well. Hello. Darlene, thank you for the stars. Stars, one way to support Hutch, but you can check into Facebook how you buy stars and then you dole them out to, producers that you enjoy content from. And I know that you appreciate my content because you tell me. Thank you so much. Renee from Sisseton, you're right under the gun from this storm. Christina as well in Ada, good chance of some heavy snow in Lakes country as well. And this storm system will have widespread impacts. Paula, thanks again for your support of stars as always. Josh says, appreciate you, Hutch. Continuing to keep you up to date. All right, I want to keep this moving. I want to try something here. There's a lot of work going on in meteorology to how to be better communicators of the forecast. And it has a lot to do with, thanks Weston for the stars, it has a lot to do with being better at being honest about what we can and cannot do in science. The days of putting a specific digit for one town are over. Our ability to forecast, say 6.6 inches for hometown A or B is very, very low. We can give you a range and hope for the best. But let me try this as a way, and I want your opinion on this. The forecast has not changed much. The timing has not changed much. Could it change more? Yes. So the model runs I'm looking at today are much like the message before, but here's what you need to know. The forecast of the heavy snow can and does shift, as you've seen before and I've seen before as the forecaster, because believe me, when I make a forecast, I'm up all night watching to see if that snow band develops. There's an area that has a great risk right now at seeing very heavy snow of a foot or more. And I'm going to show you right now where that area is. The map will look familiar. I've been using it the last couple of days. This is the Canadian model. And I want to do I don't want to call it an experiment on you, but I want to see if this makes sense. Inside my yellow lines here, you like those. This is where the chance of the impactful snow is the greatest. This is the same image I've shown you the last day and a half or so. Grand Forks is right on the edge of this. Now, some of these areas here in the northern fringe are going to see low snowfall potential, maybe an inch or two, but the wind is going to be pretty redonkulous and it's going to be cold. So you will have impacts. Now, as we go through this, you can kind of see the bullseye. I even drew my white line. I said, bullseye. Okay. South Dakota is going to get whacked. Parts of western North Dakota stand a chance south of Interstate 94 of getting whacked. Family out there in the Dickinson area, get ready. You may need to wax the shovels and fire up the snowblowers. Eastern South Dakota here, all of the I-29 corridor, southern Minnesota, and on up, snapping very close to the Twin Cities is this bullseye line. This is the area that has the best chance at seeing high impacts. Now, yes, there's this little band here. That is, well, that's the impact of the elevated terrain of the Sisseton Hills, number one, as there's going to be east wind blowing up those hills and bringing out even more snow. Chad, Karen, thank you for your support of stars. Scott, hi, good to see you. April, thanks for joining. Remember to tag your friends on these. Let them know good old Hutch is broadcasting right here on Facebook. Now, let's take a look at one thing. Do you see these little arrows Hutch drew? Here's my point. Even the day before, I have seen, and we saw this with the little tiny clipper that made its way through our area. It was forecast to move along and just south of Interstate 94 with the heaviest snow. Where did the heaviest snow band go? Boom. It jumped 50 or 60 miles south. And in fact, it was heavier than anticipated in some spots. We got the 2 to 7 Hutch was forecasting, but heard tell of some places out near the Twin Cities that got upwards of 1 foot of snow from that clipper system that worked its way through. So these arrows represent that this line can shift either way as we go into Sunday. At least 50 miles. I've seen it shift 100 miles before. That's what our forecast models do. Now, we're going to go over a model, a high resolution model. Remember, I've also been saying these global models like the Canadian, the American, and also the European model. They have big grids, so they make it look like it's a huge area of a bullseye. All the red and all these colors make it look, oh no, everybody's going to get whacked by a foot or more of snow. I don't think that's going to happen. It rarely does happen that way. What we're going to see is a more narrow band of very, very heavy snowfall potential. And we'll probably see a widespread area that gets 6 to 12 inches of snow. So many inside this warned area that the National Weather Service has a warning is going to have that risk of seeing some 10-inch, 6 to 10-inch, 6 to 12-inch snowfall totals. Let me go ahead and put the National Weather Service map up here. Pardon me for my hunting and pecking here on my graphics. There it is. Okay, anywhere in the red, real good chance of that. But some will see the chance of 12 foot to 24 inches of snow. 12 foot, 12 inches to 24 inches of snow. Heavy snow. And the best chance of that is going to be along this little bullseye line Hutch drew here. So let me know if you like the bullseye line. That's that main core. It's kind of similar to how they forecast maybe a thunderstorm, or that cone of where it could spread to the left or the right a little bit. Gives us an idea that our forecast isn't something that we can be super duper precise, particularly when we're talking about a storm that's not ending until Wednesday morning. There's a lot that can change. Becky, thanks for your stars. Tracy, good to have you on from Lake Bronson. Lynn, thank you for watching in Alvarado as well. Bree, good to have you on in Wahpeton, Breckenridge. Here's the point we've been making the last couple of days. Highway 200 and points south have the chance of some of the heavier snow bands setting up, and there is a legit chance of seeing heavy snow. Referring back to my friends at the National Weather Service who do a stellar job of keeping us all ahead of the game, let's show you what they're looking at here for their warned counties here. So as we go back to this, I'm going to zoom into the Fargo area, and we'll look at Fargo and what the National Weather Service says for our surrounding community here as far as snowfall potential goes with this particular forecast that they've issued. Now, there is some variability in this, 8 to 16 inches. So remember how I started? I said 0 to 72. That is a huge berth of snow for Fargo. Is it going to be 8 or is it going to be 16? We have uncertainty still. There's still uncertainty in the forecast, but be where you want to be by Sunday morning. At the latest, say 10 a.m. And this system will last until 7 a.m. and even later for parts of the eastern valley and into central Minnesota, and out towards Duluth as well. So the beginning and end times of these warnings for your different communities are going to be impacted. Now, let's check out what the National Weather Service is saying for our friends in the Grand Forks viewing area. 40-mile-per-hour winds, 3 to 16 inches. Look at that. You have more uncertainty because you could be cut off with that dry northerly flow and get closer to an inch or two of snow in Grand Forks. But it's looking a little better, like we're going to see at least 3 inches over the 2.5 to 3 days of the storm system. Starting at 10 a.m. for you, a little later is when the warning starts in 10 a.m. Tuesday. See how it's shifting as we go to different counties? So if you're watching and reading these crawls on the bottom of your television screen, it's a great way to get the information for your community. But the bottom line is that this storm will be moving in from the west and from the south. Our western and southern counties will see the impacts of the heavy snow and the wind first, and it will glide through the region, set up camp, and it's not going to move too far. Now, our western counties, Bismarck, Dickinson, out into central Minnesota for my viewers out there in the Mobridge area, and also for you folks up in the far north, this thing will be ending for you first, and then it will continue across the valley of Minnesota. All right, if I don't have any questions on this fancy way of plotting this, I will put up the National Weather Service forecast in the area of the heavy snow potential. Let's look at Alexandria, for instance. National Weather Service office in Chanhassen says, get ready for heavy snow, wet snow, and strong wind. And look at the 2 inches per hour. That rate, think about it. It's 2 days. That's 48 hours. 48 times 2 is a lot of snow. Are we getting that much? No. Its snowfall rates up to 2 inches per hour when it's at its heaviest will become possible. Look at this thing. I mean, this is a long write-up that they have here. The bottom line is what? 12 to 17 inches of snow right on the I-94 corridor. Travel between Minneapolis and Fargo will be impossible in places, and it's going to last with those gusty winds for a few days, a couple of days, I should say, at least. And I think the worst of it begins as we head into the Sunday evening time frame. That's when the accumulation will start piling up. Without further ado, because I know that you don't have all day, I want to get to a model here. Let's take a look at a high-resolution model. Give me a moment while I load one up here, and we'll put this on your screen. And right now, this is showing temperatures. Let's go ahead and look at this one. I like this one gooder. Now, let's take a look at this. This model has temperatures on it, so I'll switch the properties to our future radar. Okay, so let's take a look at the future radar here, if I can. Ooh, it's not letting me. It says, nope, you can't do it. Let me go change the hour. This model might be a little better at that. Okay. Sorry about the delay here. Well, I'm having some troubles letting the model cooperate with me. I'm looking for one that goes out 60 hours or so. Let's try this one. Let's try the precipitation type. Here we go. Okay. So this is a higher resolution model that I've been talking about, and I'll go ahead and step through this just a little bit here. Let's see if I could put a time frame on the start of the snow for most of our areas. This model is taking its time. Boom, here we go. The heavy snow bands moving in from the west and south. So if you're in western parts of North Dakota, Dickinson, out towards Bismarck, the time on this, you subtract 5 hours from that, that's 6 a.m. So by 6 a.m., it's rocking and rolling in western North Dakota and down towards Sioux Falls. Then as we head towards daybreak here in the valley and we get in closer, let's go to about noon here. So subtract your 5 hours from this, this would be noon. Noon, the snow and wind are picking up. Now, the strongest of the winds will be down here closer to the low pressure center, but we'll have very stout east winds here in the valley. And this is noon Sunday. So most of our area will have impacts, minus the far north. Now, as this storm system continues to strengthen as we go through Sunday evening, you're going to see the precipitation rates really pick up. See the dark blues here? This is the I-29 corridor. This is south of Watertown working its way northward. And we'll have periods of moderate to heavy snow across North Dakota. It looks like the Highway 200 corridor and points south. Now, as this model continues to dump, look at it, hasn't moved very far, and the heavy band of snow stays put. So it does look like the big winners for snowfall as we go from Sunday into Monday morning. This is midnight on Sunday night as we head to bed. It looks like it's all but over here. We may get a break as the dry air cuts in under the snow and shuts things down for a little bit. You will be done out in western North Dakota by the time we get to that Monday morning time frame. Now, as we head into Monday morning, the wind continues to blow. The dry air is cutting things off up north, but the heavy band of snow, notice how narrow this model is compared to our other models? Yep, that's what I'm talking about. The higher resolution models can pinpoint where this track may be the heaviest. So with that, we got a pinpoint forecast. But remember the wiggle room I showed you on my bullseye graphic. It's showing the heavy snow where the big models have been showing it for days. In our southern valley and right into eastern and central South Dakota and much of Minnesota, including Lakes counties. Look at this ridiculousness. Snow in southern Minnesota that was heavy is going to be coated with rain. You know what that's going to make? Slush, sludge, and ridiculousness. Now, this is Monday morning. This is Monday morning at about 11 a.m. to 10 a.m. You're going to see very gusty winds. Some of the worst winds will be Monday morning, according to this model. In Fargo and in eastern South Dakota and in central Minnesota. It'll be shifting and becoming northerly. See those black lines bending into a more northerly south direction here? Gusty northeast winds will start bringing in more dry air from Canada. So I would expect as we go through late Monday that our sharp cutoff line is going to start making its presence known. Central North Dakota, you'll be done with this on Monday, but there will be travel impacts still in our region. Look at all the rain in southern Minnesota. You'll be seeing that. And then as we continue through, here we go. Look at this main low coming up through Iowa. Another band of snow. It's not done yet. And this is Monday night. Okay, Monday night is as far as this model goes, and it does not show me much with regards to how far I can go in the future. But let me take a look at this, and we'll just show you the snowfall forecast from this model. This model shows it exactly where we've been showing. Very little up north, much more from eastern Montana through the I-94 and Highway 200 corridors and points south. That's what we've been saying. All of South Dakota, you're going to have that risk of very heavy snow. And remember, these snowfall totals that you're seeing here, we don't want to rely too heavily on them, but they are guidance that we're going to see 6 to 12 inches in probably quite a few areas. There'll be drier pockets, drier slots that we get very little, but there will be enhanced narrow bands like I've been talking about that get a whole bunch. So that's a look at the timing of the storm system. Does anybody have any specific questions? Thanks, C. I really appreciate the comments. I hope this makes sense. Woody's, thank you so very much for sharing stars with Hutch. I appreciate you guys. We'll want to be battening down the hatches. I think I've summarized this with some graphics I've posted on online. And if you haven't seen these, bear in mind and bear with me here. But here's a look at what I've posted. Here's the when. Saturday, today, light snow out west, increases late. Yep, that's check. But it really increases as we get into Sunday morning. Be where you want to be by about, well, at the very latest, 10 a.m. to noon. But if you're out west, it'll start earlier for you. So say if you're out in Dickinson, be where you want to be before sunrise on Sunday. Heavy snow, gusts 40 plus, and the system will be spreading from east and south, from the west to the east and to the north. Does that make sense? That's just what I showed you on the model here. Oh, you can't see this. My bad. Oh. Okay. So light snow today. Heavy snow develops along and south of Highway 200 as we go through the day. Travel difficult to impossible. Please stay home. If you must travel, you best have a survival kit and make sure you have everything you need if you become stranded and a road gets closed, you could be there for a day and a half or two. Okay. So, and no kidding, this has happened many times when we've had storms like this move through the region. Don't be the one. Plus, clogging up vehicles on the road makes it harder to clear them out for everybody at the end. So if you don't have to, please don't travel. Monday, still heavy snow, mainly in eastern North Dakota and all of Minnesota. Gusts increased and the wind shifts from an easterly wind to a northerly one, mainly in eastern North Dakota and Minnesota, and all of South Dakota. I didn't fit it on here, I said the other day, because I ran out of real estate on this. All of South Dakota will still be seeing impacts for the better part of Monday, particularly the eastern 2/3. And on Tuesday, the storm starts to dry up a little bit, but the snow and the wind out of the north continues. Light to moderate snow in the valley and points east as the system exits. And for some out near Duluth, it will not end until Wednesday morning. So that's the when, and that's what we know there. Now let's put up a little detailed graphic on what? Heavy snow. This is what I've been saying. Periods of heavy snowfall. There'll be gusty wind over 40 miles per hour. It will become north once we get through the time frame of Sunday evening and into Monday. That's when the transition. Whiteout is going to be possible. There's still a risk of blizzard. And then there's a falling temperature thing on the backside of it where things get a little cold and nasty. Nathan, good to have you on board. Good to have you watching on the big screen. Hey, how many of you have transferred Hutch onto the big screen TV? That's kind of fun, isn't it? I hope the quality is okay. I try to make all my graphics so they look sharp and crisp. Falling temperatures. Now, what about the impacts? And I want to stress on this one. How about this? Travel. Don't do it if you don't have to. It will be difficult to impossible. And yes, it can be life-threatening if you get stranded in a vehicle for quite some time. Make sure you have your cell phone. Make sure it's charged. Make sure you bring a charger with you. Make sure you bring food and snacks and things for everybody. Okay. You want these in the car. Non-perishable food that everybody can share and high energy kind of food. Hutch likes peanuts, but if you have an allergy or something, put what you like in there that can stay with you for a couple of days. Well, a little box of nuts or something like that. And then maybe some water, obviously. Power disruptions will be possible with this system, as well as cancellations and delay. This means everything from your events Sunday, your events Monday, and for some of us into Tuesday morning. It will impact air travel region-wide as we take a look at that impact being from Minneapolis, Sioux Falls, Fargo, Grand Forks, Bismarck, Billings, Montana, all the way down into Wyoming and even Rapid City. All of these airports could have delays. Check with your provider there. I had a Facebook friend ask me if they could make the flight, and I says, oh no, you're traveling during the hardest time. And guess what? They got them rescheduled because the airline did it before even trying to fly. They knew they were running into some trouble here. There's going to be significant snow and drifting. The drifts will measure over 5 feet in places thanks to this gusty wind that will be blowing the snow around. It will be a heavy, wet snow in the far southern counties, but the farther north we get, it's going to be a drier and fluffier snow because it'll be colder. So keep that in mind. So we'll have differing types of snow crystals. We'll have differing impacts, but all of us will have the wind and the cold eventually, and the drift will be ridiculous. It could flat out shut down some roads too. I don't like to predict that because I don't know. I know that our DOT crews are going to work hard. I know that for power disruptions, our power companies are lining up people and making sure that if it goes out, they get you restored as fast as possible. I'm not saying this is going to happen because we have very reliable power sources here in our region, but it is a possibility. Snow load on roofs, particularly in our southern areas and that hardest hit area is where I'm concerned. There's nothing you can do about it, but I'm really talking about things like barns and sheds with a large span between the roof joists or whatever that help with the load-bearing weight of these. So, things like yard sheds, or when we've seen big buildings with a lot of span on the roof, a big wide roof, and once you get more than, say, 18 inches of wet, heavy snow on there, the weight gets incredible. So those are the kind of impacts I anticipate. All right, let me see. Paula says, I see you and the graphics much better than on my phone. Thank you. That's a great idea. You can really share this to your home big screen TV and see all of Hutch's flaws. I rarely put makeup on anymore. John says here in Mentor, clear skies, no snow, lots of sun. And I know it's beautiful to see, isn't it? Feeling that throughout the day here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Daughter flying into Minneapolis to Monday evening. Monday evening is going to be kind of difficult. The storm will still be rocking, but the good news is that warm bubble pushing up into the Twin Cities could mean it's just rain in the Twin Cities. Hopefully they've got the slush off the runway. They'll do a good job there. Do you think the flight will get canceled, John? That's my explanation there. I think if it changes to rain and they can keep the runways out, then Minneapolis and MSP will be back in business. So there's a chance that on late Monday, that warmer slot makes its way over. And if it hasn't frozen on solid ice on the runways, then yeah, I think air traffic will start. It also, I'm not an air traffic controller, but if there's a backlog of people in the airport waiting to get out, they may not be accepting flights in. So I can't, but it's hard enough predicting the weather. Me and my coffee cup. What do we think? I think you better keep a close eye on that at the airport and see what the airport does. All right, that's my 2 cents on that. It will change to rain there. Light snow in Cullum is being reported. Okay, let's take a look at what we have going on with our DOT cameras out in western North Dakota right now where the snow is flying. And I've been talking for a couple of days that I didn't anticipate this being too awful heavy, but here we go. Here's the North Dakota road report. As I take you around the state, you can see the purple areas out from Dickinson to Mandan and all areas southeast and southwest of Bismarck showing some purple. That means we got some snow on the roads and on the side of the roads, some icy roads. Okay, notice I can see for miles. Okay, you can see for, I would estimate miles in this picture. The visibility is pretty good out there south of Bismarck. In Mandan on the hill, the visibility is lower. We cannot see for miles. And the snow is a little bit heavier there in the Mandan area. Keep that in mind. North of Bismarck towards the Washburn on Highway 83. Yep, you got some snow and reduced visibility there. It's not terrible yet. It is not terrible. You are so detailed and complete. Thank you, Avis. I really appreciate that. Beef jerky for winter survival and toilet paper. Oh, thank you for the tip there, Avis. Little toilet paper works better than snow. All right, let's not even talk about that anymore. Take a look at this. We do have some icy roads out there in Wishick as well. Okay, it looks like wet and snow combining to make some slippery conditions. This will be moving into places like Oaks and Ellendale. So that's what's going on right now. Let's look way out by beach. If you happen to have your beach towel handy, this is what it's going to look like by the beach, North Dakota. Well, that ain't very good swimming right there. I can tell you that much. I don't think I'm going to buy tickets to that one today. Let's look down to the south by Hettinger, Bowman. Here's Bowman. And visibility a little better. I wouldn't call it miles and miles, but there is what's going on right now. One last look at the radar before I cut this off and let you go. I'm going to have a look at the national view. That'll be on my YouTube channel coming up here shortly. It will also go through a review of a couple different models on this. Join me there here after a bit. I will be back later tonight to keep you updated on the very latest with what's going on here in our area, and new models are coming out all the time. Now that we're within the 48-hour window, think that tomorrow is 24 hours by this time tomorrow, and by Monday this time, that's 48 hours. So the models are starting to go out in the higher resolution style. Well, we should be able to see some of these models giving us hints as to, oop, we're going to get some dry air coming in. It's going to cut the snow off in Town A, but Town C, look out. You better get the snow blowers gassed up. So all of us are prepared. Boozoo, Stephen, good to have you on board. Thank you very much. I am glad that you appreciate the updates, and I appreciate you chiming in with your friendly tone every single time. Now the radar, as we take off, you can see we do have some snow out west. Keep that in mind. All these red counties here make it a little bit difficult to see. Do you see the pink down here by Pier? That would be some mixed precipitation there in the warmer sector, but we're all cold here from Aberdeen north to Bismarck. Bismarck and Burleigh County just north of I-94, we have a heavier batch of snow and some bigger flakes likely. Some bigger flakes also in that Carson area out in Grant County. Sioux County stretching in towards Fort Yates and the 1804 highway corridor down there, looking like they're seeing a little bit of accumulation. We did see Wishick and the roads out there. That was caused by this little batch that's moving into Ellendale now. Caleb, thank you for the stars. Amazing. Your support is amazing. Thank you all so very much. All right, this is the only thing we have on the radar in our area. Just as a hint, I'll go over what's going on from our clipper that's now slapping, not clipping, the Northeast. They have a winter storm warning, feet of snow and ice there. And the snow is getting ready to begin for the Sierra Nevada. Look, they've added on winter storm warnings down here in Southern California as well for the mountains down there as well. So we have winter weather advisories in blue, a big time storm system that is just now making its way onto the West Coast. So I'll point out where the low is right now, but it's way out here by Oregon. That's where it is. It's just now getting inland, and we're basically able to model it a little bit better. Thank you all so very, very much. I appreciate you very, very much, and I will have an update. It'll be later tonight. I'm going to a function and going to help some folks and looking for a very, very fun night. I am going to be a guest talking to and helping a function out tonight that really is helping to make some funds for our friends in the Special Olympics. So I'll be doing that tonight, but I will be with an eye on the weather, and I'll be back. Might be a little later tonight, but it will be here, and you'll have this update as well. So heavy snow, winter storm warning. Do not be surprised to see a chance for blizzard warning. Jessica, thank you so very much for your stars. I'm applauding all of you for your support. I'm going to put my fun graphic that I made up here with my wiggly line and ask you again with my bullseye line to tell me what you think of it. I don't want to sound like the bullseye is where it's out is indeed going to happen. The whole point of this graphic is to show our uncertainty. We got to be honest with the fact that even the day before, if this is the bullseye of the heaviest batch of snow, we can see that track that the heavy snow is taking from Bowman and Beach and the New Salem Sioux area through central and southern and eastern South Dakota into southern and central Minnesota and our lakes country, even southeast North Dakota. So this is the main core of the heavy band of snow the way it is right now. This can shift by tomorrow by a good 50 to 100 miles north or south. Now, the trend for this model has been pretty stable, though. For the last 3 days, it's shown this same area getting the heavy snow. It has not shifted. It has not wavered. So the confidence is high that the higher impacts will be down here. That does include Fargo-Moorhead. We're right on the edge of that. Grand Forks, not as much. There'll be a rapid decline, but you will have wind, and you could be clipped with the heavy snow. So there's some more uncertainty here. Think of the width of 100 miles north and 100 miles south. That's 200 miles. That's a pretty good chunk of real estate that this thing could still move. Thank you so much. I hope this makes sense. This is the main impact zone right now. It could shift a little bit either way. We could have multiple bands where we get one heavy band here. A lot of these storms do that, where we get another band set up as the upper level low moves through. We're going to keep you posted. Thanks, Jane, for liking the bullseye. Let me know if it makes sense. I hope I'm clearly communicating that we still have uncertainties in this system, and that travel really is not a good idea. Please be where you want to be by early on Sunday morning. By early, out in western parts of North Dakota out here, I want you home or where you're going to be before daybreak, 6 a.m. or so. That's when the heavy snow starts for you. For us here in the Red River Valley out here, the snow doesn't really start ripping and taking hold until we get to about 8 to 10 a.m. And then sometimes it gets to be a little delayed because our atmosphere has to get saturated with snowflakes before we have shovel trouble. That said, if you're where you need to be by around the start of the warning time for your area, 7 to 10 o'clock, that's going to give you the chance to batten down the hatches and just wait and watch with Hutch and see what happens. Thanks so very much. Quick question. Is a warning worse than a watch or an advisory? Lisa, that's a wonderful question. I'd love to address that. Here's the thing. An advisory means be advised. The weather could be a little tricky at times, but it's usually not life-threatening. So we have wind advisories. A warning is issued when all of the ingredients are there. We're very certain that this event is going to happen and it is going to be life-threatening. Now, we do have wind warnings. Actually, it can be dangerous if we have cars that get tipped over or high-profile vehicles. If we have a wind warning that knocks trees down on houses, we've had loss of life and property from wind. So a warning means it's either happening now or the event is imminent. So a winter storm warning issued by the National Weather Service, and I'll put that back up on the radar here for you behind me. This winter storm warning means all of the conditions are here. They're going to be here from late tonight out west all the way until Wednesday morning out in eastern parts of Minnesota and northern Wisconsin. A warning means in these areas, the weather could become life-threatening. That's when warnings are issued. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to hopefully see we don't want anybody to lose their life, but it's dangerous for travel out in these areas. Take all the precautions, batten down the hatches. If you don't have to travel, don't. Stay off the roads. Let our road crews do their thing. Our power crews will get out there and make sure that we get any disruptions taken care of, and we'll get through this. We've been through this a bunch of times, but it's nice to try to know the areas of greatest impact, because there's a lot of you that are making very important decisions, and I honor that. You want to know whether you can get to school on Monday or Tuesday morning. You want to know if you can get to work. You want to know if you can make it to your doctor's appointments. These are all very important decisions. Will my flight make it to town? I cannot answer all of those, but what I can do is give you the best idea of what the track and the impact area of the storm is, and my friends at the National Weather Service issue warnings when the conditions are imminent. A watch, the yellow counties here, a watch is, well, we have the ingredients here, but we're not quite certain yet. We're uncertain that it's going to take place yet. So we have a watch. We're going to keep our eyes on it. That's what a watch is. I hope that makes sense. Thank you so very much. You have a wonderful day, and we will talk again soon on this Saturday as we brace ourselves for a taste of winter in spring. Not unusual for us. How much snow will you get? Fargo, we sit at about 12 or 13 inches for the season, I do believe, based on that last inch we got from the last system that made its way through. With that, if we're sitting right at 13 inches, in a normal winter, we get 50 inches. 50 is the average for Bismarck area and Grand Forks as well. Grand Forks, you're closer to that 50 inches, but you're going to get less from this system. So some of our Southern Valley areas, well, we haven't gotten 50 inches of snow, but we sure did get 3 inches of rain around Christmas, right? So we need the moisture, and it's coming. It's coming for areas along Highway 200 and points south. The way it looks, it does look questionable as to how much is going to fall up north here, International Falls, northern parts of Beltrami County. But our Lakes counties and the Southern Valley counties will likely be the target of this event. We'll keep you posted right here. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, weekend. Keep watching for my weekend